Right, two quick thoughts that I want to share. Let's see how quick they are. I say this every time. I say it's just a quick thought, but then I end up talking for half an hour. So it's a bit more than just a quick thought. But two things that I wanted to mention to start off the episode is we think about happiness and success as the same thing, but I've been thinking about it a lot recently. And I don't think they are the same thing. And I've kind of evolved my thinking. So when I was young, I used to see happiness and success as two different things. Then, at some point, as I was growing up, I started seeing happiness and success as the same thing. Now, as I've grown older, it's like I'm going back full circle to that initial frame of happiness and success being different things. My perspective doesn't mean it's the truth, but it's just it's just my perspective, which is happiness to me is an internal measure. Success is a external measure. That's how I see the two. Happiness is an internal emotion. Success is an external accomplishment. That's how I see them. One's internal faced, another one is external faced. One is an emotion, another one is an accomplishment, an accolade, instead of an emotion and a feeling. I don't think they're the same. Could they be the same? No, I don't think so. Could they affect each other? Perhaps. Perhaps being happy could correlate to a higher degree of success or a higher probability of success. And perhaps a level of success could influence a level of happiness. But they're still different things, if that makes sense. They're not the same thing. Because success doesn't guarantee happiness. And happiness doesn't require success. You can be happy without being successful, and you can be successful without being happy. And actually, you actually, this is perfect. You see these every day. Some of the wealthiest, most successful people in the world are some of the most miserable and unhappiest people in the world. And that's because success and happiness don't really go hand to hand. They don't go hand in hand. I'm trying to learn English on the go. They don't go hand in hand. I think that's the term. Yeah, I see them as different. I've returned to the frame that they're different. They are different. They're not the same. They could be seen as affecting each other to a certain degree, but they're still very different. Success does not guarantee happiness in no shape, form, or way. Otherwise, every billionaire would be happy. And happiness does not require success. And that's why you see a lot of happy people who might not be successful, but they're happy. So, yeah, the more I rationalize this out loud, it's interesting because I'll have thoughts in my own time, and some of them I have time to flesh out in my own time. Others, I'm literally just fleshing them out as I'm going along with the episode, or if I'm making content for TikTok or Instagram, whatever it is. So this is an interesting one to me. They're separate. I've returned to that frame where I believe that they're separate, because even though there's a degree of influence that they can have on each other, they're still separate things. They're still very separate things. There was a point in my life where I used to be like, my happiness is my success, so my success is my happiness. But now that I think about it, if I were to debunk that, it makes zero sense. And I think I said it because it made me feel good about myself in a certain way. Not to say that if you believe in that frame, that you are incorrect. Again, this is legit my opinion. I'm growing and changing and evolving. What I say isn't the be all or end all. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but it's not even about wrong or right. It's just, as I reflect on that frame, I think there is scope for making sure that we call things for what they are if it doesn't make sense, or if it makes sense. I think if it makes sense, actually. See, I'm not even making sense, but they're two separate things. That's what matters. They're two separate things in my view, my personal view, and I wanted to share that. Second quick thought that I wanted to share that might be interesting to a lot of people is your belief system is not yours. I wrote a newsletter issue about this recently. So if you subscribe to the newsletter, good on you. You would have seen that newsletter issue. If you're not, then go subscribe to the newsletter, because it's literally just free, insightful content, free on-the-go thoughts that I have, that I share every single Sunday with you guys. The newsletter is called the Self-Growth Sundays. You can go to ericjivraj.com/newsletter, and you can literally subscribe with 1 second with a click of a button, and you can start receiving instantly actionable, practical. See, it gets to a point in the day that I can't even speak. Practical, insightful thoughts to help you build a more fulfilled life, a happier life, a healthier life, a more purposeful life, all the good stuff in life. So, shameless plug. I didn't even actually want to plug the newsletter, but here we are. Shameless plug. Go subscribe if you can. And whilst we're here again on the shameless plugs segment, then please, if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would mean the world. If you could follow the podcast, that would mean the world. Takes a second, and it really helps us a lot. Back to the point, because I've kind of lost my train of thought, as I always do, because I just waffle sometimes. Here for the vibes. That's the motto today. So the belief system, that's it. Got it. The belief system that you have is not yours. Every single belief that you have was inherited, influenced, or shaped by a multitude of different factors. Let's think of your belief system as a wardrobe. When you're first born, you will have clothes, pieces of clothes that come from your parents. They have bought it for you. Some of them, it was family members who gifted it. Others might even be from your older siblings. Maybe even from friends. And at some point, you'll buy some clothes as well yourself. And so you can kind of think of the different pieces of clothes as different beliefs. You can kind of think of them as that. And so you see the different clothes are coming from all these places. The different beliefs are coming from all these places. You might say that, yeah, but at some point I get to do my own shopping. At some point I get to choose my own clothes. But then you have to reflect. You kind of have to go down the rabbit hole. And you kind of have to take a deeper look and think, well, but why do I want to buy that piece of cloth? I used to be into muscle fit and skinny fit clothing. I used to be a lot into it. Now look at me. I'm comfy. I'm comfortable. I'm chilling. Oversized vibes. That's what I'm on right now. You kind of have to question yourself at some point, like, but why do you want to buy certain clothes? You might say, well, because it looks good, because I feel good in it, because I think it looks good. But also, like, you were influenced by fashion trends. You were influenced by your circle of friends. You were influenced by maybe your family or your partner. You were influenced by what you see on TV, on social media. Like, you were influenced by a number of different places. Now, that's not to say, for example, that I don't enjoy oversized clothes. I actually enjoy and I love wearing oversized, baggy clothes today a lot more than I used to love skinny and muscle fit clothes back in the day. It's not to say that you won't enjoy something or you won't vibe with something, but it's just to say that, going back to the beliefs, because I'm kind of going a bit too far left with the far left to the, I said far left and then I go to the right. It's fantastic. You're going a bit too far left with the clothes analogy. I want to bring it back to the point. Is you picking up beliefs that are not yours. They are not yours. You believe, no pun intended, that they're yours, but they're not. They're not yours. Family would have had a big influence in your belief system. School would have had a big influence in your belief system. Your experiences would have had a big influence in your belief system. Social media, society, what you see on TV, mainstream media, the news, like all of these different external factors is it the right word? Sorry, I'm trying to be good with my English today. I'm Portuguese, guys. Listen, forgive me. I'm not going to have it under lock with the language. It's okay. I'm going to call it factors, but it's not factors that I want to call it. Anyways, all these external factors, entities, that's it, entities. All these external entities, they will affect how you think. And so when you start examining your beliefs, you're going to feel very uncomfortable. And you're going to feel uncomfortable because you're going to start questioning whether or not that belief is truly yours. Where did that belief come from is the first question that you need to ask yourself. Where did that belief come from? Then, after you do that exercise, you'll realize, okay, well, I picked up this from school. I picked up this from family. I picked up this from social media. I picked up this from X, Y, and Z. And you'll see that only a small percentage is actually a belief that is in its entirety yours. Which is why I said beliefs can be inherited, influenced, or shaped. That's the three things that a belief can go through. It can be an inherited belief, it can be a affected belief, it can be a shaped belief. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I ended up realizing that there's a lot of things that I believe in, or that I thought I believed in. And then I was like, well, why do I believe in them? And then I answered the question, and I'm like, well, but why do I? And then you kind of just go down the exercise of the 5 whys. You'll keep asking yourself why to every answer you give, so that you can get to a layer deeper in your understanding of yourself. And I found it really interesting. I was doing this exercise via journaling, and yeah, it was very, very interesting to, and you should try this, to understand where certain beliefs come from and why. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. If you are happy with the beliefs that you have, you shouldn't change them. But you should definitely, this is something I'm big on, you should definitely understand them and understand where they come from. Even if you don't want to change anything. Because just because they're not your belief doesn't mean that it's something that you don't necessarily subscribe to. This is the beauty of life. You can have dichotomies, you can have paradoxes, you can have spectrums and scales, you can have things coexisting, you can have contradictions, right? This is the beauty of life, is that it's not binary, it's not black and white, it's not yes or no, it's all a spectrum, it's all a scale. In the end of the day, that's all it is. And you can have things coexist. And I love that. But I just wanted to bring that up, that is your belief system actually yours? Or is it just borrowed? And if it's borrowed, are you happy with that? If not, you might want to look into changing it. If yes, then you might just continue to look at understanding it better. I think that's the reinforcement that I wanted to put out there. Let's try the Diary of a CEO conversation cards by Stephen Bartlett. Again, not sponsored, but who knows, maybe one day. Might have to go back one day and basically edit all the past episodes where I said there wasn't a sponsor when it does eventually become a sponsor, but who knows. Okay, great product. Shout out to Stephen Bartlett. Let's go through the questions like we did in another episode and kind of just answer the questions as we go along. Wherever question comes up, we'll answer it. But instead of doing it as just a moment segment, it'll be just a bunch of moments segments for the rest of the episode, because it'll be fun. It'll probably spark some interesting thoughts, and we'll see what comes out of it. No, this is an interesting question. Let me think let me think about this one before I say it. I'm not going to answer this question because I feel like I need more time to think about the answer than the couple of seconds I have in this episode. So I'm going to actually put this down. I will answer this question, and mark my words, I will answer this question. But for now, I'm going to put it to the side because I need some time to think about that one. Oh, this is an interesting, very fun, unusual question. What is your favorite sound? Not what is your favorite music, not what is your favorite album, what is your favorite sound? Very interesting. What is my favorite sound? I like the sound of. This is gonna sound very cliche and very like basic, and I'm very aware that that's what's gonna sound like. But I do like the sound of the waves of the ocean. Does that make me basic? Maybe it, maybe it does. But I really do. I really do. I do like it. I do find something peaceful and relaxing about it. Yeah, I love the sounds of waves, ocean, beach. I just I like the peacefulness that it brings. I like the rhythm as well. Like if you've ever gone to a beach and sat down in the sand and just listened to the waves clash against the sand, there's just something about the rhythm. There's something peaceful about it. And we could go a bit deeper into that. Well, peace is an interesting emotion. And that's sparking a whole bunch of thoughts on why I love peace so much. But I think for the answer of the question, I think this makes sense. What's your favorite sound? Comment down below. I'd be super interested. Like, what is your favorite sound? I would love to hear. Is it the raindrops? Is it, something else? I'd love to know. Right, what's next? Okay, this is a question that okay, let's go for it. Is it ever appropriate to hurt someone's feelings? This is a very unusual question as well. Is it ever appropriate to hurt someone's feelings? Just to be clear, because I feel like a lot of people watching this will be like, well, why is he taking so long to respond to this question? It's because I'm trying to think about the deeper alternative meanings to it. But obviously, the gut reaction is, of course not. Like, you shouldn't be hurting people's feelings, of course. But the question isn't whether you should. The question is it ever appropriate to hurt someone's feelings? And I think that's a different frame of whether you should. You shouldn't, but there'll be times where I think it's inevitable. And I think that's why I was thinking about the answer, is because there are indeed times where it's going to be inevitable. I don't think it's going to be something that you will be able to avoid. It won't be intentional, of course. Or I'd like to think that people are not hurting other people intentionally. It'll probably be unintentional, most likely. But I think at some point it's going to be unavoidable. And the reason why I also want to emphasize, it's not so much, of course, there's two sides to a coin. The person on the sender end, and then the person on the receiver end. Today's been a masterclass in English for me. But I think that without a doubt, there'll be times where you unintentionally hurt someone's feelings. Or maybe intentionally, but not with a bad intention. And I think that's where things get separated to me. It's what your intention is versus what your effect are two different things. You might have the best intentions and still have the wrong effects. Why? Because you have control to a degree, but you don't have control over every single factor. You cannot control how someone will receive something. You cannot control how someone will respond or react to something. So is it ever appropriate to hurt someone's feelings? I wouldn't say it's appropriate, but I think there will be times where maybe it's unavoidable. For example, at work, you might need to deliver a piece of feedback to someone that you work with, and you might do it in the kindest way. You might do it in the most constructive way. You might do it in the most productive way. They might still be hurt from that feedback, even if it was kind, even if it was constructive, even if it was productive. But because it's not only about how you're delivering feedback, it's also about how the other person receives the feedback. And no matter how much you control your delivery, you cannot control their reception of it. And this is a very specific example. So is it appropriate? I wouldn't say it is, no. You shouldn't be hurting other people's feelings. Is it inevitable in certain instances? I think so. I think there's times where it will be inevitable because you don't have control over every single factor. That's what I'm landing on. I'm landing on that. Yeah, I'm landing on that. But yeah, oh, it's a good question as well. Let's go to the next one. Let me think about this and see if I need more time to think about the answer for this. Yeah, I need more time for this as well. This is not me skipping questions, by the way. I would be super honest with you if I was skipping questions. It's just there's certain questions where you need more time to digest them. So I just want to be clear. Oh wow, this question, you can even see it's very hard to understand the handwriting on this one. So let me see. I can try and answer this question, I guess. The question is, what is the most controversial idea you believe that within your industry most people disagree with? Let me read that again. What is the most controversial idea you believe that within your industry most people would disagree with? Well, I kind of just did an episode on controversial ideas. So I think as far as that one goes, I can hit. And also, even in this episode, I spoke about how happiness and success are different things. I think that would be seen as controversial for a lot of people. I think that would be a hot take and an unpopular opinion because a lot of people would like to join them up together. So maybe that might be something that people disagree with. Yeah. I think this has already been answered in a lot of ways in this episode, in other episodes. So let's go to another one. You have one last piece of work to do. What is that piece of work and why? Need to think. This question to me is difficult to answer because it depends on what I've done at the time. I think it's very dependent on what I've done at the time. You have one last piece of work to do. What is that piece of work and why? If we're talking about today, and it's literally you have one last piece of work to do, then for me it would be just make sure that my family and my loved ones are good. That's the last piece of work I want to do. It's to do everything in my power to make sure they're good. Good for good. That would be the last piece of work. Why? Because it means everything to me. My family means everything to me. My girlfriend means everything to me. My loved ones, I cherish them a lot. There are things in life that matter a lot to me, and people, the ones that I really truly love, they matter to me so much. And so, yeah, I want to fulfill that duty. I would keep going, but I think that's enough for this episode anyways. I might try a few more in the next episode, see how it goes. Thank you. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you. If you're still here watching me waffle, then unbelievable to you. Kudos to you. Thank you for supporting the podcast. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, that would help us massively, actually. So takes a couple of seconds and it means the world to us. Thank you.